Mail has arrived. Let's open it up and see what I've got. Rightio, let's get started, shall we? This is a parcel from Team Raptor, and first of all, there's a Lipless Crankbait, say that. Now what have we got in here? Make your own luck. A great big spinnerbait with Team Raptor written on it. So I've got a Team Raptor Lipless Crankbait and a Team Raptor spinnerbait, quite heavy. Rightio, folks, let's have a look. I'll see if I can give you a decent look. That is a Team Raptor Lipless Crankbait. I've got to tell you, it really looks the goods. I'll tell you all about Lipless Crankbaits shortly. And this is a Team Raptor spinnerbait. Feels very heavy. It might even be 3/4 of an ounce or an ounce. It's got Team Raptor, not Team Raptor, Team Raptor. It's got Team Raptor written up there on the bib. That's not going to like focusing there, is it? It's got Team Raptor written on the bib. Right, Team Raptor, thank you very, very much for the Lipless Crankbait and for the spinnerbait. Now, I'll quickly get the spinnerbait out and have a look. That is quite a heavy spinnerbait. It's got a great big long white tail. I don't know why, but I've always got to smell stuff. I absolutely have no doubt that will catch a fish. It's got double Colorado blades. It's got a dark Colorado blade at the front and a big gold Colorado blade at the back. For those wondering, Colorado blades generally create more vibrations, stronger vibrations. They displace more water more water than what a willow blade does. A willow blade is a long skinny blade that doesn't push as much water, and they are better used in strong currents, whereas Colorado blades are better used in slower water, although you can use both in either. That's just where they're better off. That would do really well in a big deep hole on the Ovens River. Team Raptor spinnerbaits. Now, let's talk about lipless crankbaits. What is a crankbait? Basically, a crankbait is an American name for a lure, a hard body lure. There's a lot more to it than that, and I'll get into it shortly. Here we go. It probably says it backwards, does it? I don't know. Raptor. That is a lipless crankbait. It's lipless because it hasn't got a bib, bibless or limpless, and it's a crankbait because it's a crankbait. Now, I'm going to tell you what a crankbait is. Basically, a crankbait is a common term used in America for a hard body lure that you have to crank. You have to crank the reel. You have to turn the handle to get it to work. That's what a crankbait is. This is a lipless crankbait because it hasn't got a bib on it. So you cast it out and you turn the reel, you lift and you wind and you make it go up and down, up and down. Some people will call it a vibe because they vibrate like that through the water, like a blade. A blade is a vibe. A lipless crankbait is a vibe. But a blade is not a lipless crankbait because it's a vibe, because it's a blade. So that's a lipless crankbait. You might have seen a video of me chasing redfin at Waranga Basin recently. I was using this little jiggle fishing lipless crankbait. That is also a lipless crankbait. That's a very, very small one. I love this little jiggle fishing lure, and I've caught a lot of redfin on it now, and I've even caught a cod on it. This is the Raptor, the Team Raptor lipless crankbait, much bigger. Obviously, it's got yellow belly written all over it. Now, let's take this little crankbait conversation a little bit further. This is a tubby native minnow. That is what we call a square bibbed crankbait. It's not lipless because it's got a bib. There we go. Do we focus? You see that? That's what we call a square bibbed crankbait because it's got a square bib. That's a native tubby minnow, ideal for yellow belly. Then, if we go up a notch to the next size up, this is another crankbait. This is another square bibbed crankbait. This is the Damiki Brute. The Damiki Brute 70 that I got in my tackle club box a while ago. That is a square bibbed crankbait as well. Now, here's a deep diving crankbait. This is the smallest lure I'm going to show you. That is the Damiki Disco Deep. Once again, that came from a tackle club. That is a diving lipless crankbait because it's got a bigger beak and it's designed to dive a little bit deeper, as opposed to this native tubby, which is a square bibbed lipless crankbait. And then we go over here. This was sent to my mail time section at one stage. I think this is a Rapala. That is a bibbed crankbait as well. That's quite a deep diving crankbait. Now, here in Australia, we normally call lures such as this one here, which is the we normally call lures such as this one here. That's an old mate lure. We normally call them a deep diving lure. We call it I normally call them a diving hard body or a hard body lure. Whereas something like that I'll call a crankbait. In America, basically they call all of their diving lures crankbaits. Over here we call most of them diving lures, but we seem to call the small diving lures like that and like that, we seem to call them crankbaits, and the bigger ones for cod, we seem to call them diving hard bodies. But anyway folks, so a crankbait lure is basically a lure that you've got to retrieve and put a bit of life into to make it swim. Don't confuse a crankbait lure with a jerkbait lure. A jerkbait lure is typically a lure without a bib. This is a Jinder tackle diving lure, or I normally call these a minnow, but once again, technically you could call it a crankbait. It's got a long diving lure. Now, if it didn't have that bib at all, if it was just the body only, that would be what we call a jerkbait, because you've got to jerk it. A jerkbait is designed to mimic a wounded or injured fish, so it doesn't actually have any kind of swimming action. It has no action. We've got to jerk the rod tip to put a bit of action into the jerkbait. So that's a jerkbait. These are crankbaits. And this, that the Team Raptor sent me, is a lipless crankbait and a spinnerbait. So that is the Team Raptor lipless crankbait. Now, I do know for a fact that you can find these guys on Instagram. Look for Team Raptor on Instagram. I am not sure whether they're on Facebook or not, so you might just have to, oh, here we go. It's written on this envelope. Team Raptor on Facebook, at Team Raptor on Instagram, and teamraptor.com.au if you want to check these guys out. Folks, I hope that explains to you the difference between a crankbait and a lipless crankbait and a square bib crankbait and a jerkbait, and an argument in a maths class is probably called a maths debate, but I'm not really sure. I'm not going to talk about that now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this video informative and useful, and if you have, why not give me a big fat thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video.